Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Women Oracle and Tarot. And today I am bringing you a pick a card reading on your journey to fame and fortune. So I look forward to sharing these readings with you. I know they're going to be good ones. I do want to ask that you like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. Do let me know your story and your experiences in the comments. I also want to let you know, if you want to get to know more about me, what I do, you can check out my website, erritygreen.com. Right now, the Leadership Mastery Academy is open and enrolling for the Professional Master Mentorship Certification Program. You can check out those details below, but there's so much more going on at the Academy, including upcoming classes and more, which will be on the calendar shortly. So do check out those details. Without further delay, I will place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from, and we will get started in just a moment. All right, card pile 1, your journey to fame and fortune. So when I pulled these cards, each of the piles, it's clear that if you're here, that fame and fortune is a possibility for you. This isn't a matter of, will you be famous? I think I've even done readings along those lines. This is more like your journey to fame and fortune. So we're assuming that success comes. We're assuming that recognition comes. We're assuming that kind of visibility comes, right? So that's not a question. It's like your journey to it though. Okay. So a couple things is you've been through, I feel like, a healing period, or you're on your way out of it, or maybe there was a challenging time for you, or at the very least a transition. For some of you, it might have been something deeper and darker, like a dark night of the soul, where you were learning more about yourself, discovering more about yourself, really even getting clear on what you truly wanted. I feel like there were some deeper layers that maybe you weren't entirely aware of before, and then now have become just more intimate and aware of yourself, like intimate with and aware of all the parts of yourself that make up who you are. I feel like some of you might have lost course for a time. Not that I believe that we ever truly lose course, but sometimes we can feel like off path, right? Sometimes it feels like we are out of alignment because things feel dark or heavy. I'm not saying you've been there, but for many of you have, at the very least, you've been through a transition of sorts. And now you're sort of putting the pieces back together. You're in the process, the journey, the path of putting the pieces back together. And part of this is clarity and certainty, knowing yourself better, having discovered what you discovered, taking what you've learned, taking the wisdom that you've earned and gained, and now applying that to your life and deciding where it goes from here, deciding where you want to go, where you want to take this ship. It's almost like before you might have been on a ship and it was almost like a exploratory ship, right? There are some ships that are exploratory and they're out there just trying to find land and new treasures and unknown people and islands and things like that. And I feel like you were sort of on this ship and it would land you on an island and you were like, great, this is awesome. I like this. And it would be something that you would enjoy or explore for a time. So kind of like that energy, where now I feel like you're stepping into a time in your life where you actually know yourself more, like you know where you're steering the ship, you know where you're headed. There might be a better way to say that because I'm feeling like some closure in my throat. So that usually is a redirection. However, that's the best I'm able to give it words at the moment, where you're steering your ship more masterfully now. Like your compass has been calibrated by your own knowing of yourself and also your self-worth. Like before, you might have had things in your life, experiences, relationships, workplaces, people, whatever, that didn't fully align or weren't really reflecting who you were on the inside, like your level of power and your level of um, intelligence, maturity, evolution, just who you are deeply on the inside, and just being a lovable human being, as we all are just by our own existence. And so I feel like the changes that might have occurred were also kind of getting rid of the riffraff in your life, to put it kind of in a silly and playful way. But I feel like you are now journeying forward with more awareness of yourself, intimacy with yourself, and knowingness of yourself, with your compass recalibrated. Now you actually know where you're going, or know where you're going more so, and you know your worth, and you know what you're worth. Meaning, when you're on path, you're not going to be easily swayed or distracted by shiny objects or neon lights or things that promise you things that aren't real or true. It's like when we're on path, because we can go on path of say fame and fortune with self-knowingness and without self-knowingness. You don't really have to know yourself, but when you don't know yourself, you become people like Britney Spears, who were then held hostage by her family for 13 years. Now, I'm not saying that she knew any better or should have known any better, because um, that's just not the point. Clearly, she was in her own innocence, and her family took advantage of that and then profited off of it for years. However, my point is, when we don't have clear direction or clear self-knowingness or clear self-worth, we're much more easily swayed or detoured from the path and derailed, to where we can even lose all the things that we've earned and grown and built and achieved. So there was something here, number one, about really getting clear and knowing yourself well or better and knowing your self-worth. And there is something here too about connecting. The more that you come to life based on your desires, your heart's desires, what you want, who you really are, the things that light you up, your self-expression, your creative expression, you and your fullest expression. You might even write down, what is your fullest expression at home? What is your fullest expression at work or in your career or purpose path? What is your fullest expression in your spirituality? What is your fullest expression as a parent if you're a parent? What is your fullest expression with your friends' social life? What is your fullest expression in health, well-being, fitness, quality of life? And you might ask yourself, what in these areas are all the domains of my life? What does my fullest expression look like? Because it's saying that your fullest expression is directly tied to the shift, fame and fortune, success, recognition, toward your big vision, your higher calling. Those are directly one and the same. I also feel like during this path, during this process, this period of your life, you were learning how to hold yourself with self-love, hold yourself with self-compassion, hold yourself with more love, nurturing, warmth, connection that you may not have gotten growing up or as a child with one parent or caregiver or both. So I feel like you were learning to hold yourself in love. And I don't think everyone's ever there, they haven't ever arrived or at their full destination necessarily, but you were being called to love yourself more. Of course, part of that was knowing your self-worth, like we already talked about, but calling to love yourself more. And when you love yourself more, you command more, meaning you command more in your home and your health and your relationships and your workplace, where you no longer settle for less and you're not okay with just dinner scraps and leftovers and crumbs, breadcrumbs, not enough. You want the whole kit caboodle, the whole shebang. And that's where it was about self-honoring, self-loving, again, self-knowing. Let's see what else. So part of your journey to fame and fortune is a lot of that inner growth, like we talked about. It's coming to life. It's bringing more self-love, self-compassion into your world. Let's see what else is here. Your journey to fame and fortune, I feel like, is part of your path to fame and fortune was gaining that clarity about yourself. Like, so much of it was learning about yourself. What is it that you really want? I'm thinking of that scene in The Notebook, right? What does he say? He's like, not what she wants, not what your parents know, not what he wants. What do you want? And she's like, I don't know, and I feel like it's like that, where we have to learn for ourselves what we want. A lot of times it's through learning what we don't want first, and then we learn through contrast what we do want. If we're not clear, some of us, based on our human design, for whatever truth that brings to you, right? It doesn't have to be the whole truth, but it offers a semblance of truth, something, where we actually learn through reflections more so than we learn through just a knowing of ourselves, right? So you might have different parts of yourself that are open versus closed. If you don't know human design, you don't have to know it. I'm just throwing it out there if you do. It's not that something I follow by detail or religiously. However, a part of this was getting to know yourself and even creating enough space to get to know yourself. Like, what do you actually want? Like, not just what you'll take what you can get, because, right, like when your ship is sailing, I'll take this island. Sure, we showed up. I'll take this treasure. Why not? It's like, no. But what do you actually want? Where do you actually want to go? What do you actually want to achieve, right? Not just, oh, good, this landed on my lap. I'll take it. I'll take it. But like, what do you want? Like, if someone's going to hand you, here, you can have a free car. But what if you knew you could just get any car? Which one would you get? So I hope you're understanding the difference between that. There was something here. Yes, your path to fame and fortune was also about not only coming home to yourself, like we talked about. I mean, that's going to sum it up right here. I mean, we have more to go, but I think that really sums it up, takes the cake here. it was about coming home to yourself, your path to fame and fortune. That was going to be necessary for you first before you were set off to then just like a bird. Because if you didn't know yourself well and you hadn't come home to yourself, things would have been a lot more fickle. Like the foundation wouldn't have been as strong and solid. And part of your soul path was making sure that you know yourself. But coming home to yourself, but also connection. I'm feeling connection not only with yourself. That's a huge part of this. So I don't even want to, I'm almost like, I don't want to even say and anything else because it feels so paramount and important that you're close with yourself. Like, hello, coming home to self. But there's also something here about when you come home to yourself, you're then able to avail yourself to partnership, life partnership, romantic partnership. But this could also be your soul family, your community, the community you might have sought for, looked for, wanted to know. Like, so some of you might have resonated with, not all of you, because this isn't a big theme of this reading, but some of you might associate yourself with the outsider or the black sheep or someone who's misunderstood, kind of wondered where your soul family was, wondered where your one true partner was, even if you're in relationship, right? But especially if you're not, and if you've been single or single for a while, it's very much saying it was about coming home to yourself so then you could then come into union, connection, real intimacy with another because you actually know yourself. You're not showing up in the facade and the pretense and the conditioning and who you aren't. You're showing up as you are, right? If you're just the person who takes any old thing, like we talked about, the person on the sailing ship that just goes willy-nilly anywhere, wherever the wind takes it, it's like there's some value to that. It's fun, it's experimental, it's exploratory. You're getting to know all these things. But after a while, number one, it would grow stale and it wouldn't be true to you. But let's just say you just kind of got with any partner that showed up on those islands, you know, or you made friends with or got in a connection with or whatever, just based on what was there, right? Oh, I'll take what I can get, whatever's here. This is cool. But is it actually true? And how true is that intimacy if they're just getting to know that part of you that's just like, whatever, I'll take whatever. Sure. Okay. Sure. This is fine. This is fine. Right? So getting to know yourself and coming into union with other who also knows themselves, that's true intimacy, right? Versus I'll take what I can get wherever I go, whatever lands in my lap, sure. You know, this is more like, this is what I want. This is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. So let's say there's deep soul union here. Definitely soul union with self, soul union with other. If you are not in a relationship at this time, this is on its way and does come part and parcel with the fame and fortune or the journey to fame and fortune. It all comes in the same package. Okay, journey to fame and fortune. What else is here for card pile 1? Yeah, okay, so part of your fame and fortune is calling in your peeps, baby. You're going to call in your peeps by, and I don't always read cards, you know that, channeling and uplifting humanity, okay? So, you're going to be someone, you might consider yourself a star seed. You absolutely do not have to consider yourself a star seed, but there is a connection in that. Why? Because as soon as you start speaking your language, whatever that is, because you know yourself now, you know yourself better, you know yourself more, so you can speak your language. You're not just speaking Morse code that is like anonymous and universal and everybody knows it. It's almost like it's so general that everybody knows it, but it's also so general that nobody cares about it. Like they do and they don't, right? They have to, right? When it's relevant. But I mean, like if someone's just out there doing Morse code every day, everyone's like, whatever. What about when you're out there amplifying your unique code, right? You're going to get your unique people. So there is something to starseed mission here, but also, and look at the picture. I mean, Pleiades, starseed, channeling, uplifting humanity. I do believe your path to formation is, your fame and fortune is going to have something to do with, even if it's not specific to this, it doesn't take this exact form, it doesn't have to be this explicit, but it is going to take the form of some kind, channeling, right? So it's going to be sharing your voice, your wisdom, your message, your writing. It could be writing, it could be speaking, it could be performing, but it's channeling in some way, an art form, an expression. This is all about the throat chakra. So this is sharing your voice, your unique truth, your unique voice, your unique wisdom, your knowledge. So you might be a teacher, you might be a speaker, you might be a writer, you might be a performer, performance artist. I definitely feel like definitely voice in some way though, with writing, teaching, speaking, especially, although all the other art forms are available here. And then inspiring. So lifting people up, showing people what's possible, offering an optimistic view of what's possible, of what's available, of what's possible for them, showing them and empowering them to do for themselves what you've done for yourself. Maybe taking them through a similar journey that you've taken yourself through, how to follow through with that, but then also achieve what you have or what you are, right? Showing them what's possible, empowering them to achieve what's possible. And in summation, or in a more broad, universal way, it's inspiring them. And You're basically, through the speaking of your truth, your voice, your wisdom, your knowledge, in whatever form, you're calling on the people who already know you. Maybe they don't know you in the flesh, this lifetime, this identity, but they already know you. They're waiting for you. Boop, boop. The beacon of light, or um, what is it? The lighthouse. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. And so, like, as soon as you start doing that, people are like, what? And they start coming in droves. They've just been waiting for your call, and not just them waiting for your call, like they're a bunch of followers and that's it. But no, they're also leaders. So they're coming forward to you. You're finding them, they're finding you. And it's this ripple effect where you're all supporting, uplifting each other, which then supports and uplifts the whole. So this is a collective effort that might be started out individually, and you might not even see how it all connects. You might not even see how the web connects, because you might not have a direct person or collaborator or partner or community. It might not be that clear to you. But basically, you're bringing forth the souls who have agreed to do similar missions as you on Earth, and you're all coming together through the sharing of your own voices. And as you come into your own actualization and realization of self, and as they do also, you're able to see each other and all call each other up and forward, and for you all to rise and do your work in this world, to contribute in the ways that you've said you wanted to contribute. You might have big mission, little mission. Your little mission at home, if you're a parent or something like that, that's perfectly fine. Some people are like, but I don't have this big calling or vision. You don't have to. But if you're on card pile 1, I would imagine you have some kind of big vision or calling that has something to do with your soul, what you agreed to. Also, probably something to do with Starseed or a collective of some kind that is here working on a similar mission as you. And so we call that the big vision. Well, we all have little missions at home, of course. We all have our own little desires and things we'd like to create in our own little world, our own little family, our own little home. That's fine. And there's a greater mission and calling that's happening, unfolding as well. So card pile 1, your journey to fame and fortune is very much about your own path of self-discovery and intimacy with yourself, and a lot of those little nuances and subtleties we talked about earlier in terms of what that path would look like and what it would mean for you. Very much about getting to know yourself, coming home to yourself and being so close and union and intimacy with yourself that then you can call forth your life partner if you haven't already, or soulmates of other forms, or ancestors, or other star seeds. And ultimately, you're calling forth the greater community at large that is going to work alongside you. Maybe not explicitly right next to you in an office space, but globally, all working in tandem toward this higher vision for planet Earth. Card pile 1, that is your reading. I look forward to hearing from you. Of course, do check out erritygreen.com, the Leadership Academy, enrolling now for the Professional Master Mentor Program. Other things unfolding and on the schedule. I'd love to see you over there, and I'll see you next time, card pile 1. Card pile 2, your path to fame and fortune. So card pile 2, I first want to share that if you're here, then it's already an apparent possibility or potential for you to have fame and fortune. So the question isn't, are you going to be famous? I've had sort of readings in the past that get closer to that. This is, well, if you're asking about it, you want it is possible for you. What's your journey to fame and fortune? So it's assuming it's an assumption, already done. Now, what's the journey going to look like, or what is the journey looking like now? So the number one message that's coming through is, well, I already said this, and I'm opening with that message for all piles. Yes, it's possible, but specifically for you, card pile 2, yes, it is possible. You might be wondering, is this going to happen for me? You might even be saying, can it happen for me? Can I truly find my full self-expression, creative expression? Can I find my joy? Will I find that purpose path, that vision, that destiny that lights me up, that brings me purpose, that brings me passion, that makes me feel fulfilled and emotionally alive? Is this possible for me? There's a saying where it's like not all hands on deck, but like all pistons firing, something like that. And it's like, you might be asking yourself, is this possible? Is this possible for me? Am I going to be in that place where I feel like that person, where I feel purposeful, where I feel like I'm on path, where I feel passionate, where I feel fully expressed, I feel fully alive, I feel like I'm in my creative zone or in my element? Yes, 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 yes. And then some. This is meant for you. You're on the path of it now. You're on the journey of it now. Journey to fame and fortune, it's part of it. Saying yes, and this is about aligning your life with that. It's about, this actually reminds me a little bit of card pile 1. I can tell there's going to be a difference here in how it plays out, but it's a similar opening, and that you might look at your life right now and check out each of the domains and see where it's not in alignment with your full expression, where it's not in alignment with your joy, where it's not in alignment with you feeling fully self-expressed and self-actualized, where it's not in alignment with you feeling like you're sharing your voice and being yourself and doing what you came here to do. Looking at home, home and family, looking at work, career, purpose path, looking at health, nutrition, diet, well-being, looking at quality of life, looking at each social life, friends, family, relationships, looking at each of those areas of your life and asking, do I feel fully expressed, fully alive, and enjoy here? Or does that feel like a potential or possibility here? Or is it already happening regularly here? If not, there is room for growth. There's room for alignment. There's room for inner work. There's room for more joy, right? There's potential there for growth to bring you here, because I feel like your path to fame and fortune is very much connected to your full expression. It's very much connected to you already finding joy, as you are. It's very much connecting to you, and it might not even be like, oh, you just have to find your joy right here. I mean, I do believe that's possible. I think joy is always available. It's a choice. It's available to us, whether we can see it or be there or get there or not. With that said, it's not that simple of a message. It's more like, you know how to get there. Even if you're not there, you know how to get there and what's required. So it's a matter of doing what's required and getting there, right? As opposed to like, okay, how do I become famous and fortunate? Not that you're asking that question. That doesn't feel like a question that you necessarily ask yourself that explicitly or that plainly and simply. But it does feel like you might ask yourself, how do I get there? How does this work out? Or how does this even happen for me? It would be through bringing yourself into your full expression in each of those areas. So starting with yourself, within yourself, and letting that be the work, right? It's not so much the work of how do I become rich and famous, right? The work is how do I become fully expressed in all areas of my life? How do I find joy or bring joy to all parts of my life or myself? Where am I not living in joy, and how can I live in joy? So it's going into sort of quote unquote do the inner work, and not that it even has to feel like work, because we're talking joy here. We're talking about aliveness here. We're talking about creative expression here. We're talking about self-expression here. That's not work. I mean, it might feel like work sometimes, but it's supposed to feel good, ultimately. It doesn't always, but because the honesty of having to face ourselves where we're not there yet doesn't usually feel that good. That's what I mean. But it's like, no, this is what's happening for you. And that fame and fortune, by the way, I do feel like is going to be a drastic difference from where you find yourself now. So if you're feeling like, oh gosh, in these areas I just don't feel there, or money I don't feel there, or creativity I don't feel there, or whatever, if any way you're exhausted, drained, depleted, or have been there for a time where you don't feel like you even have the reserves to be able to give or to show up or do the things you feel like are required, that's okay, because that's the point. Focus on those places where you feel drained, tired, empty, and out of reserve, because those are the areas that you need to fill. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's less about, oh, how do I get to that place, get to this vision, this dream, this destiny, this ambition, this aspiration, this fame and fortune. How do I get there? It's like, no. Turn the focus around from looking at that to yourself and say, where am I unhappy? Where am I not in joy? Where am I not fully alive? Where am I not fully self-expressed? Because that's the work that you do, that then when that happens, now fame and fortune is a significant possibility, if not a done for. Like, it's assumed, it's happening, and inevitability. And again, even when I say, it's like the people who are showing up to this reading, this is meant for you. Now, when we talk about fame nowadays, fame is much more, it may not be Brad Pitt of Hollywood. You can be famous on your corner of the internet. You can be famous for your voice with a particular community around the world because of the internet. Like, there's so much more possibility now, and fame has opened up from a very small group of souls that basically had to be born into a wealthy family, that they were then inheriting the generational wealth of celebrity. It's now become something that's wide open, and it's a window or a door that wasn't open to everyone, that has become equal. Internet has been the great equalizer in this way. So because this is coming through for your group especially, this might be a message that you need to hear, and recognizing that the window of fame is much more available and accessible to all people and all walks of life, and you don't have to be or do anything special or different or unique or profound to be famous and acquire fortune. So there is something here for that for you, and that message, otherwise it wouldn't be coming through so clearly. So recognizing that it is accessible, it is doable, it might very well be by the internet, and for whatever, however that lands for you all, I'm going to let that land, and I'm going to continue with right? It's not so much about how do I acquire fame and fortune or how do I get there? What do I need to do for this vision? It's where do I not feel fully expressed now? Where do I not feel fully in my purpose or my creative expression now? Where do I not feel joy? And where you can start filling those domains that currently feel depleted or low or small or limited. It's like filling up the different parts of a pie, right? And we talked about our little pie chart with the different domains of your life, like home and family, work and career, health and fitness, relationships and social life, whatever. Fill it up, fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. And when your pie is full, that's when you make way for this fame and fortune to then land. Bada bing, bada boom. Because here's the thing. You're going to discover things and have inspirations and insights and wisdom that you otherwise would not have if those things weren't like onboard, online, green light, right? The pistons are all firing or whatever that saying is. It's like when you're in that space, you're in a totally different zone than you are when either one or many of those parts of that pie chart aren't full, right? You're not totally yourself. You're not totally in your zone. You're not totally in your element. Parts of you feel tired or depleted like we talked about. And part of it might be because you've been working toward something for so long. This vision, this dream, this success, this recognition, whatever that is, when in truth it was always about bring yourself joy and bring yourself into full expression. And then when that happened, that's what brought you into fame and fortune. That puts you on a path or positions you for the fame and fortune that is to come. Let's see what else is here. Yeah. So again, it's not necessarily about A to B, like here I am A and B, I'm moving toward fame and fortune. I think you've been searching for a path or the way that's going to get you there. And you've been looking for it and curious about it, maybe asking yourself, and not that you've been like, obsessed with it, maybe some of you, but, and there's nothing wrong with being obsessed with it. I've been obsessed with things before. I mean, my whole personality is probably obsession with different things. But I'm saying, like, you've asked yourself these questions about what's the path? Where's the way? What's the way for me? And it's like always been about you. It's always been about closing your eyes, not even looking at the path and turning in toward the cosmic you, the truth of you, who you are, your heart. What is your heart saying? And not like, what is your heart saying about what it can do to become rich and famous? The heart doesn't think that way. The heart's asking for how it can find more joy. The heart's asking for how it can find more aliveness. The heart's asking for how it brings more passion into its life. The heart's asking for high quality connections. So it's like the heart is going to get you there, and it's about filling up those pieces of your pie, love, joy, expression, contentment, peace, aliveness, whatever your particular flavor, whatever your domain that needs a boost. That is what brings you to where you want to go, right? And the only reason you ever sort of felt off or lost or off course or that things weren't happening was because you were looking for a path, and the path was never going to be looked at out here. It was a path that you were going to find it inside your heart. And it wasn't even going to be a path necessarily. It was more about attending to yourself and the areas of yourself that were asking to be inflated, that were asking to be given attention and energy and time. The path, it was never a linear path. It was an awakening of the self in different areas and parts of the self. It was a self-awakening that wanted to occur. So card pile 2, we're not at the end yet, but I feel like so far it's feeling like self-awakening was what this was all about for you. Your path to fame and fortune is about self-awakening, getting all those pistons to fire. That's not the saying, but it's a saying like that. I'm sure Google will let us know after. All hands on deck, just really bringing yourself fully alive, fully forward, in your element, in your zone. Again, bringing joy and expression, all those things that you want into your life that you think fame and fortune are going to bring you. Instead, it was never looking for the path out here, but discovering what needed to awaken in here. That was your question all along. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. Beyond the mind, the heart beats. Yeah, dang. All right, card pile 2, we're talking journey to fame and fortune. I feel like there was a challenging time for you, and I feel some emotion. I feel like there was a really challenging time here for you. Now, I'm not getting specifics. Sometimes I get very clear awareness as to what that is, and it could be because sometimes when we're not given any information, it's because the work's been done, that chapter is closed or coming to a closed or coming to a close, and or it's complete and nothing more needs to be said. Otherwise, more does come. But it's saying you have been through the thick of it. You've been through a challenging time, and maybe that's why you're seeking and holding on to that fame and fortune so much, because you were thinking, oh, well, that will make me feel better. That will save me. That will change everything. When in truth, this was always bringing you to that same place of what brings me joy. That might be it too. Self-awakening, we said. Also, what brings me joy. It was always going to be about that. It was always going to be about that. And that's, I feel like, that was like the lingering inquiry and question that maybe you didn't always contact, pinpoint, or fully understand or realize or connect with in the moment. But during that challenging transition that you went through, whatever that deep, dark soul work was, or soul journey, walking through the valley of the shadow of death, it was always about getting to know yourself further, but also finding your joy. It was always about, what is my joy? Let's see what else is here. Asking, journey to fame and fortune. Journey to fame and fortune. There's another message here, and I want to contemplate for just a moment and see what comes up. All right, card pile 2. So this is about that difficult time in your life was an offer, an opportunity, or an invitation to also be like, where am I unhappy? Right? As simple as that. Where am I unhappy? And ask yourself that. Where are you unhappy? When you turn your attention to those, when you start giving attention to those, when you start kind of filling up those buckets, so to speak, that's when everything becomes clear for you. And it's almost like it drops right in. It's not even that there's any more work or effort or chronology. Like, time doesn't need to pass. Sometimes it will, but this actually feels relatively immediate. It was always just about asking yourself, what makes you happy and where are you unhappy? So much of it was, where are you unhappy? I do feel like there was for some of you, I feel slivers of disempowerment and areas where you felt small or dark, but I think like that was more of a direct reflection or result of the challenging time that you went through, as opposed to your core personality. And maybe some of you are being asked to look at your core personality as opposed to that challenging time of darkness, meaning it didn't need to mean anything about you or change anything about you. And ultimately those things do change us, but meaning it didn't have to disempower you. It was, we could all take, I'm trying to find the words because every time I turn words, I'm like, my throat closes, so I know it's not the right thing, but I'm trying to find a way to explain it to you. Let me see here. Path to fame and fortune. Like, what do we want to say about this? I think at times you lost yourself or your center during this challenging time. I feel like you lost yourself at different times. And I think it's because, so you were looking at yourself, which I feel like was the right path in the right direction, to really look at yourself. But I feel like sometimes when we look at ourselves for too long, or maybe we're in isolation or things like that, things can become unclear and things can be distorted. But I'm not feeling that. Like, I'm feeling the layer of that, but I want to know the next thing. I want to know the next thing. Like, how is it connecting us to the path and fame and fortune? Maybe it was that. Like, this was part of your path to fame and fortune, but it was really a good look at where you were unhappy and what you really wanted and what really brings you joy and what makes you happy, so you could focus on what that is for yourself. And then that's when fame and fortune can land. That's when it can arise as a result of knowing yourself more clearly. I am going to see if there's any other messages that want to come through, because I just feel like there's more and I'm not able to put my words on it. And if I try, it's like, no. So give me a moment. All right. So what I'm getting is, when your life is an actual you, when your life is an actual reflection of you, that's when fame and fortune can land. Bada bing, bada boom. But your life has to be a reflection of you, right? The areas where we're currently unhappy, or the areas that are currently disowned or dark or unknown, or where the areas we're living in facade or pretense or whatever, those aren't truly us. And so in this case, for card pile 2, fame and fortune doesn't land there. But when we can look inside and ask, okay, where am I not happy, or what is my joy? And we can answer those questions and live that, then that's when fame and fortune lands for you, card pile 2. It's when your life reflects who you are, who you actually are, inside and out. And then fame and fortune results. We even got the success card. So that day does come, and it does come, and it can come even now, like this second. It does not feel like this is a long and painful journey for you, card pile 2. It's as soon as you sort of keeping your eye on where you're headed, the destination, you're staying focused on the compass, or the vessel. I'm wondering if there's a better metaphor for that, but I might just leave this here because I'm sure I can beat every horse to death, and we don't want to do that, do we? But card pile 2, let's go ahead and sum up your journey to fame. Your journey to fame and fortune is very much, first of all, it's saying yes. It's assuring you, yes, this is possible. Yes, this is for you. Yes, this can be for you. It's going to be based in where you feel or find your creative expression, your aliveness, your self-expression, your fulfillment. When you find your voice, where you're totally you, right? And your life, this is about, right, aligning your life in all the ways that then align with that, right? Finding your joy, finding your happiness, awakening in those areas. You might have been through a challenging time, or dark time, or a difficult time, and you might have been curious as to where you were at, what was going to go on, what was going to happen, how you were going to get there. But I feel like you made this be like your thing out, your way out. So you might have put a lot of pressure on it, but ultimately it was never going to get you out. It was never going to be able to pull you out of it. It's like you were looking at that path to like kind of get you out, but it was always going to be about you turning to yourself and asking, where am I unhappy? What is it that I actually want? And building up those areas of yourself or your life that weren't quite there yet anyway. And as that self-awakening happens, and as you're finding that joy and that happiness and that aliveness and expression like we talked about, bada bing, bada boom, it lands. Done. All right, card pile 2, that is your reading. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Like, subscribe, share, press the bell icon. If you want to get to know more about me, check out my website, erritygreen.com. The Leadership Mastery Academy is open with classes and things coming up here in the very near future. Do check out the schedule of events, and the Professional Master Mentor certification is enrolling now as well. And I will see you next time, card pile 2. Thank you. Card pile 3, your journey to fame and fortune. So I want to offer this opening message, but I've also offered to each of the card piles. This is assuming that fame and fortune is not only possible for you, but an assumption and inevitability. If you are here, this is a possibility for you. It's not one of those readings that are going to say, are you going to be rich and famous? If you're already here and you're asking for it, it is a possibility. So we're talking about your journey to fame and fortune. So right off the bat, I feel like you've been wondering, you've had your eye on this. You've known that something's meant to call forth from you. You've known you're meant to like build worlds upon worlds. Like I feel like you're a big vision person, a big dreamer person, big aspiration person, big. Like you know you're meant for world change. You know you're meant to be something. That something is meant to come through you, to move through you, to be created by and through you. That at least the holder, the facilitator of something exceptional, something extraordinary, something otherworldly even. Some of you might resonate as a starseed. You might not have always known what that's going to be though, or how it's going to look, or how it's going to take form. Yours is less about, I'm going to be rich and famous and I want to be rich and famous, as I want to create something. I'm meant to create something, share something, be something. There's some kind of service here, some kind of contribution, some kind of calling, some kind of thing, where I feel like it's not just about you being rich and famous. That might be a part of it, a secondary result and or a path to bringing this calling into fruition, but it's about a calling. It's about a calling that you've probably known for the majority of your life, not known what it is exactly, how you get there, how it arises, but you felt it inside of you, and it feels so much bigger than you. And you might even wonder sometimes, how does this happen? How do I birth it? How does it come through me? And how am I even going to do this? Because it feels so big. And you might, again, have been looking for it. Like, what is it going to be? Because you feel it. You feel the edges of it. You've always known it. It's been a whisper, a knowing. And you might wonder, okay, well, where is it? And what is it going to be? And how is it going to happen? And you're curious about, how it gets presented. Like, what kind of package does it come in? What form does it take? You might hear my dog pitter-pattering across the floor right now. He likes to interrupt videos, and he's Takuma. He's a very special dog. Maybe he'll come over here. You want to come say hi, Cubby? No. He's a Shiba Inu, if you know anything about those dogs. So a calling, a rising, a revolution. I feel like you are something big is supposed to be birthed through you. And I feel like, but the thing is, I don't feel like it was ever, that's why I feel the energy to of star seeds, because it's not necessarily you alone. You might have help, whether you can see it or not, energetically, spiritually, extraterrestrially, other dimensionally, otherworldly, supernaturally, how many words we want to use, whichever one that you resonate with. But I feel like they're using you, or you volunteered to be the vessel for this calling. There will be help though. There will be collaboration. There will be other star seeds and or whatever you want to call it on this mission and path with you. Whether they work with you side by side or in the same office or directly is a different story. They might. I'm not necessarily feeling that. I just feel like there is a large group or collective here. Like this is a revolution, a rising, a calling, a mission, something big that's bigger than you, that doesn't even feel like it can't even fit inside your body, right? All of that to say, because of that, I feel like there's been a lack of clarity, and you've been wondering, how does this get birthed? How does it happen? How do I create it? And it might be because you feel a sense of duty and responsibility, and you've had this knowing long standing, and it's like, okay, well, how do I do it? And what do I need to do? First of all, staying focused on the vision, the calling is important. I'm not saying you need to know the details yet, because I know that you've been looking for the details, and that's been a challenge for you. So I don't want to go spinning your wheels any more than you already have. With that said, the less you can focus on you, the better, because again, this isn't going to be about you. This is more about your calling, your mission, your vision, something that you are meant to do and share, contribute, like it's something bigger that's supposed to come from you, but it's not really yours. Does that make sense? Ultimately, it feels like shared, and or it feels like many hands are involved, whether that's otherworldly and or in the material plane, I don't know. But ultimately, it's a big, big, big calling. And let's see what the question is. What lights you up? So even that card, and I just read it, and I very rarely read the cards. As you know, I read intuitively. I don't feel it's even asking yourself what lights you up for you, ironically, even though I know that's what the card says. I feel like, again, it's focusing more on your calling. Like, what do you want to create? What would you like to see in the world? What would you like to create in the world? How would you like this to look? You know, it's like a focus on the creation more than the creator. Okay. More on the art than the artist, more on the creative expression itself or the product versus the creator. It's like, the more you can focus on yourself, I feel like sometimes you may either lose track, don't understand, don't get it, aren't going to find it. Again, because it was never really supposed to be something selfish. It was supposed to be, not that there's a problem with that, but it was more about the art itself, the product itself, the calling itself, and that whatever, however that lands for you, I'm going to let that be. But it's something very big, very broad, very universal, and something that was always meant to come through you and be born by you. I can just feel it coming out of your belly, like your solar plexus. I feel a whole effing universe like coming out of your belly and like, whoa, you know, it feels very, very big. Now, I feel like you are being guided. You are being guided. You might not feel like you're being guided. I feel like there's still a little bit of a lack of clarity or some darkness around it. I feel like you'll get it in little gut feelings or intuitions or instincts. And it's going to be connected again more to a calling or a vision or creation, as opposed to like, how can I get rich and famous? Right? You know what I mean? There's like a difference. This is more humanitarian, we'll say, than a Kim Kardashian, right? Not that Kim Kardashian isn't a humanitarian, but her primary focus is herself, right? And it's okay that that's her path, her view. But for you guys, card pile 3, this is more about something different. It feels outside of you. It feels like it's coming from you, outside of you, but it literally feels like a planet is born from you, and you're just like the bearer. Okay, perfect example. People have children. The children aren't really theirs. They're there to facilitate it, to support the child, to take care of the child, ensure that it lives, but they're not there to own the child, possess the child. It's not really theirs. It's their child, yes, but that person is not owned by them. It's kind of like that. So it's less about the focus on the parent, more about the child itself, okay? Your brainchild in this case. But you're going to trust. You're on the path, though. You're being given the assurance right now. You are on the path. Whatever little breadcrumbs you're on the trail of right now, whatever scent that you're chasing, you're on it. Follow it. This is the key. Keep going. It might be shrouded in a little bit of haze or fog or still a lack of clarity and certainty. That's totally fine, but you're on the trail. You are on the trail, card pile 3. And I want you to know that. I think it's important. And you're going to be excited that you hear that. You're on the trail. Something has been born. Something small just yet. Something, but it's an idea that grows. So whatever seedling has been dropped, whatever seedling has been planted, whatever idea has been stirred up, this is it. Follow the trail. This is it. Follow the scent. This is it. Follow the thread. This is your thing. This is it. And it's about nurturing it, supporting it. I feel like you already know, and it's a matter of continuing to build it so that either the vision has become clear and you haven't fully taken action yet to bring it to full fruition, because fame and fortune hasn't yet dropped yet. So at this point, it's dropped and you're taking the necessary action to build it, to create it, or you only recently have a seedling of an idea or small inclination, have not taken any action. You're not 100% clear, but you are on the trail. Whichever one, you are on the trail, you're on the scent, keep going. All it needs now is attending to become the bigger vision. I feel like some of you have fleshed out some of the bigger vision, maybe not all of it. Some of you have an idea now of your bigger vision, and now it's a matter of tending to it, nurturing it so that it can grow, build, and be fully brought to fruition or fully brought into manifestation. But you're on the trail. It's happening as we speak. Keep following it. Keep following it. Now, it's really important that you allow yourself some space as well as isolation during the creative process as you build. Is this saying stay away from everyone, hide away like a hermit in a cabin on the other side of the planet? No. If you want to do that, that's fine. It's saying that right now it's very, very, very key that you are not ingesting other people's work, other people's ideas, other people's directions, other people's knowings. It's very important that you have full boundaries up, very strong boundaries, that you're basically only focused on your own brainchild, your own creative work, your own creative vision, your own passion calling. It's very important that you're not, like, for example, this wouldn't be the best time to be scrolling on social media, ingesting everyone else's ideas, taking all these new courses and programs, or signing up to work with people, working with people where you ask questions and get information from readings like this one. You can get readings, of course, but not where you're asking them for the idea that you need to do, right? Like, this is about protecting this baby, protecting this brainchild, and protecting it so that the outside influences do not affect it, i.e. you. It's about keeping outside influences out and letting this be your creative work, your creative process. It's very important. And I see that because we have 2 cards here with very strong boundaries, 2 cards here with not allowing outside influences in, and 1 card especially that's speaking directly to a creative outlet or creative channel or creative expression that's giving the proper container to be able to totally unfurl, unfold, unleash, and be born without too much outside influence, distraction, derailment, or like anything that it's like basically eyes are closed and focused. Let me show you the picture. This shows you, I feel like, the abundance that's coming in, right? And it's landing. And look at that. But her eyes are closed. She's not looking out here. She's not reading someone else's stuff. She's not listening to someone else's stuff. She's totally in her own element. Look, there's a butterfly in her throat, I think. Yeah. And it's saying the word wants to be written. It kind of reminds me of someone, an author who kind of has to take a sabbatical and go away and write in a cabin, even though I said not to do that. Well, you don't have to do that. You can. But where they have to shut everybody out, shut the world out, and they just put it all on the paper and they just let it happen. Let it unfold, let it unfold, let it unfold. So that's going to be your work, card pile 3. Your work is about it's about letting this unfold, taking out the proper container that is protected so that this can be done. So as an example, this is not going to be the case for everyone, not even sometimes a few of you, because this doesn't feel like a big example. This just feels like an example so you can understand what I'm talking about when I say it, that, like I said, the writer goes to the cabin, shuts everybody out, shuts everybody up, turns all the phone signals off and everything else is away from the Wi-Fi and all that stuff, just so you can let this book be birthed, okay? Or she can let this book be birthed, or they can let this book be birthed. And that's really what you're asked to do in terms of focus. So this is a time where being vulnerable to outside influence is not the best time. And it's more of a time of just letting your creative expression or your creative channel have its space to do what needs to be done, because I feel like it's already there and lying and waiting, or it's landed and it just needs to be focused on. So meaning this is sacred. Whatever this vision, calling, aspiration, dream, whatever it is, it's sacred. So write it down. Make sure you know exactly what it is. Fold it up, put it away somewhere in a book or in a box or whatever, meaning protect it. Why? Because in the event that you are derailed or detoured or whatever, you can keep coming back to it. But that otherwise you are consistently gonna, this isn't the term at all, but going to the grind. It's like going to do the thing and show up and do the thing and do what you can as you can to help build this without too much outside influence though, right? It's protected, it's sacred. You've given yourself space or a container to be able to do this, for this to unfurl, to this to unfold. And time and again, if you need to return to that vision that you've written down, so be it. But it's really important. And I feel like for you, card pile 3, it was always important about just outside influence staying out. I feel like you do best and you have a great connection with yourself when you aren't availing yourself to other opinion or outside influence. It's like as soon as you start asking those questions or going to other people or looking at other people's ideas, changes your course. You're just maybe too curious. You inquire too much. Like, not that it's actually too much, but I mean, you end up availing yourself to outside influence and opinion where that was never supposed to be your path or your thing in the first place. So card pile 3, your thing is all about if you can just stay close to you and be with you, this is all going to unfold perfectly and as divinely orchestrated or divinely ordained without any problem, without any hitch, right? There's not going to be any issue, no monkey wrenches. If you start going off trail again or kind of going after this shiny object or, squirrel, you're going to find yourself kind of running circles again. So card pile 3, yours is all about staying the course, being clear. And again, you're going to spin in circles if you're focusing too much on yourself or focusing too much on the destination of like fame and fortune or focusing too much on other people, outside opinions, outside influences. It's not going to put you in an ideal place or position to receive what you need to receive and do what you need to do. Instead, you're going to focus on your big vision and your calling and how you can be a servicer to this, a vessel to this. You're a servant to this vision, really. That's your master. It's not really you're the master. I mean, I hope you guys know what I mean. Ultimately, I'm speaking in metaphors here. I don't want you to be a slave to your vision, but I am saying that you are in service to it more than it's in service to you. And there's something here specific about that, and that trust the path that you're on. You're right on path. It's coming to you, and keep following this trail. You're on the hunt. You're right in the right path. This is right where you want to be. It's little right now. It's a seedling, but it is going to grow, and it is going to grow probably more than you could expect, maybe even exponentially so, out of proportion to maybe even what you could have ever imagined. And it's going to be really important that you stay your course, the course for you, not what somebody else says, or what somebody else does, or what they think, or what they're going to say. Yeah, and also distractions, cutting out distractions from your life. Where are you giving your time, energy, attention to things that don't matter or that don't matter to you as much? It's like you might have many moving pieces in your life, and we're not saying, okay, go neglect that and just focus on your calling. No, but this is about where are the areas where you are being distracted, where you are giving time, energy, attention to things that ultimately don't matter to you, and how can you use your energy wisely so that you can give this calling the attention, the energy, and the time and the space that it really deserves. Because this is going to give you everything that you have ever asked for or wanted, something that was always going to be given to you anyway, because it's a part of your path, your mission, your purpose, and calling. Because they also knew you would be a humble servant to it, by the way. They knew you weren't going to sort of take it over or be power hungry or control hungry or money hungry, and how humans can kind of become different people when they're given something big. It was like they always knew that you would be a humble servant to this, that you would be a shepherd. Card pile 3, you want to know what your keyword is? Everyone got a keyword so far, and usually the readings offer, you're a shepherd. And so card pile 3, you're a shepherd of this calling, this vision, this dream, this aspiration. And as the more you focus on the vision, the calling, the aspiration, not so much about how you're going to better the shepherd's life and how the shepherd's going to improve and what can we do for the shepherd. Not saying it's okay that you focus on your needs too. Please, I hope you guys know what I mean. Hopefully you have a proper foundation of the kind of philosophy I share and from other readings to know that I'm not asking you to dishonor or neglect yourself. Go to other readings for more information. But for this one in particular, it was never about how the shepherd's going to be able to sit on a throne with a crown. This is about shepherding a vision, an aspiration, a dream. They knew that you would be a good shepherd, and they knew that you would do the work required and that you wouldn't mess it up with your own egoic drive. So good on you, but it's going to pay you back in dividends. It's going to pay you back in dividends, and not only material wealth, but spiritual wealth, a true shepherd, all of it. You could have all of it, card pile 3. Because you've been such a great shepherd. You're a good shepherd, and you were entrusted with this gift because they knew exactly what you would do with it, that you would be trusted with it, and then you wouldn't mess it up, F it up, that you would attend to it dutifully and diligently, that you would bring it to its highest purpose, power, possibility, and potential, and that worst came to worst, that you would let it be as it is, that you would never try to take over or make it yours, or again, mess it up in some greedy, power, money hungry way that then destroyed it. You're going to also, like the parent to the child, you're going to let the child thrive, even if it meant that it wasn't yours at some point, right? Like some people build homesteads, some people build companies, they end up selling it. And not that you're going to do that. You can do whatever the heck you want, but it's saying like it entrusted you to do what needed to be done to ensure this child thrived, and that you weren't going to be like overly smothering it or taking and stealing from it or otherwise harming it in some way where it couldn't realize its fullest potential. So card pile 3, you have been entrusted to be a shepherd for this calling, for this vision. I know we summed up earlier too, and here we are, and sharing that you are bringing forth an incredible, extraordinary calling, even maybe otherworldly, that may be more collective or even global in nature, that you are on the trail, the hunt now. It is active, it is underway. It is not something that you don't know. If it is something that you don't know, then you are already on the trail and you have some breadcrumbs in mind. It's a very little baby and just needs to be nurtured and supported and all the things that a little baby or any brain child might need or want. And I feel like you know what is required because you have an idea or a semblance of what that vision is. Don't let the outer world tell you what to do. These are your sheep. This is your baby. Trust yourself and all will be given to you. All right, card pile 3, if you enjoyed this reading, do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, or the Leadership Mastery Academy, do check out the details below. We'll be having classes and events coming up here shortly with a schedule of events that you'll be able to click on. For now, I do have the Professional Master Mentor certification opening up later this spring. Do check out those details below, and I will see you next time. Thank you, card pile 3.